Fighting in relationships is inevitable, but the way that you talk during a fight can actually make things worse. Hi everyone, I'm Kasey Lafferty, registered psychotherapist and registered marriage and family therapist, and in today's YouTube clip, I'm going to give you 3 tips to avoid making your next fight worse by changing how you're talking. My first tip to avoid making your next fight worse is to watch the tone of voice that you're using. The tone of voice that we use when talking to other people not only affects how they're going to interpret what we're saying, but also how they're going to respond. For example, if I were to say something like, "Okay, well, I'm not very happy right now," versus, "Well, I'm not really happy right now." The first example that I gave you was more of a sarcastic tone, which is likely to either provoke somebody or to lead to a negative response, whereas the second example that I gave you was more of an honest tone, which tends to be more inviting as it's conveying vulnerability, so I'm more likely to get a positive response or at least not make the fight worse. My second tip to avoid making your next fight worse is to watch your volume. I always like to tell my clients that if you start a fight with a bang, you're probably going to end with a bang or you're going to be really disconnected. And the reason for this is that when we go into a fight yelling at somebody, we're either going to have them lash out back at us, which is going to make the fight worse, or they're going to ultimately shut down emotionally and sometimes physically and disengage with us, which also makes the fight worse because neither option is productive. So instead of going in guns blazing, see if you could take a deep breath and instead talk to your partner in a soft, low voice. Talking to your partner in a soft, low voice not only is more inviting, but it also conveys more vulnerability, which is easier to respond to. And finally, my third tip to avoid making your next fight worse is to watch the words that you're using. If you're in a relationship, you probably have a good sense of what words are going to trigger your partner and what words are safer to use. Don't be mean. Don't use words that you know are going to get a rise out of your partner or are likely to get a rise out of your partner, because while it may feel good in the moment, it's not going to help your relationship, and in the long run, it's actually going to hurt your relationship. All right, everyone, so don't forget, if you watch your tone of voice, your volume, and the words that you're using, you can avoid making your next fights worse.